been very honest, being like, yeah, it is hard. Like I'm in that same boat. 'Cause, I have 4 kids, they have kids, and I feel it. But I try to let them know that it's still possible to work your business as long as you try and work it somehow.
Welcome to the Other 99% podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Duck, a coffee-loving direct sales enthusiast who's obsessed with a good digital system. Come join me for a realistic look into the world of direct sales. We'll explore inspiring perspectives, learn about unique business tips, and celebrate success stories that often go untold. Because on the Other 99%, every seller matters.
Hey everyone, it is me, Lisa, and welcome back to another episode of The Other 99%. I'm here again with our co-host, Susan Larimer, and we have our special guest here, Jenna Stewart. And Jenna, I just want you to pop in and tell the listeners sort of who you are, what you do, and all that stuff. Share as much as you want.
All right, I'm Jenna Stewart, and I am a brand partner with Paper Pie, formerly Usborne Books and More. I've been with them for 10 years. I celebrate 10 years in October, which is exciting. I am born and raised in Idaho, and we currently reside in southeastern Idaho. My husband works in the agricultural business. He used to be a farmer, and now he works with farmers. And we have 4 beautiful children, and that's pretty much it. So I have kids, 10, 7, 4, and almost 2, and they're all home with me most of the time. Well, it's summertime. Then 2 of them will go back to school in the fall, and that's pretty much it. So yeah,
And
that's
what got you into direct sales? Like what made you make that first dive?
that's a really good question because I got invited to an online party when my daughter, she's my oldest, when she was under 1, so she was like 9 months old. And I got invited to a Facebook party, and I think that was actually my very first Facebook party ever. And I remember getting a message from my husband's cousin, and I was kind of like, what is she talking about? And she'd asked if I had ever seen, I think she'd asked if I knew about the That's Not My books. And I was like, totally confused. I was like, she's like, that makes 0 sense to me. But as a kid, I loved reading and I love going to the library. I think it's one of those things that as you get older, it's harder to find the time and the desire to read a lot. Because like when you're in college and when you're a young adult, it just doesn't seem as fun. But as a kid, I loved reading. And I had realized being invited to that party that I was like, oh, I don't have very many books. So I said yes to the invite. And I remember it was the standard Facebook party with the post and like the YouTube videos, and you see all the products. And I remember grabbing like a notepad of paper and just writing down all the books I loved. And I have it somewhere, so I should have pulled it out, but I had, all the books I loved. And I knew that I was like hooked on the product. And so I wanted to host because, that's the best way to get, the best products for a really good price. And my husband, I love him to death, but he was like, it's just a scam because I was talking about joining. Because, when you're the conversation with the hostess or the consultant that's running the party, you asked if you want to host and she asked if you want to join. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe. I was at a spot in my life where I was working from home as a paralegal, but my position was kind of changing the dynamic of the law firm. And so I was kind of looking for something different and like something else to bring in some extra income. And so when she asked me about joining and she gave me all the information, all the statistics about, the money we make and the products and everything, I was kind of like really intrigued by it. I've never done direct selling. I never thought I would, just because just wasn't something that I thought I would be interested in. But just the product really had me and the mission of the company. And so I was really thinking about joining, and my husband was like, this is he made me like really, really research it. And I found, multiple YouTube videos saying like, this isn't a scam, like this is, all the things. And so I did. I'm very driven. And so my husband, he can tell me no, but I probably won't listen. And so I did it and I joined. And at that point, my husband's like, as long as you don't lose money and you make back what you put into it, I guess just be careful. And so that was 10 years ago. And I remember the first set I bought was the little library set that was like $8. And I'm sure the hostess was so mad at me because I loved all the books, but I bought like minimal because I was like, I want to host and then I'm going to join. And now I have like 1,000,000 books. So, but I had that very first little library set that I have that I will forever cherish, because without that, like, I don't know, the introduction to the product, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so it's just kind of a snowball effect from where 10 years ago. So that's how that joined.
Awesome. I love how that
Yeah.
company is so good for parents with little kids. And I
Yes.
wish I would have known about it when my kids were little. And you do have ages up until like middle
Yes.
school-ish.
But
Yeah,
like
like
our sweet spot is
youngsters.
like the preschool age,
Yes.
100% baby and preschool
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was so smart to get in there, get the discount, and then start sharing it with all of your mom friends too. So
Yeah.
you
It
have,
has been so beneficial.
yeah. So you have a super busy life. You have 4 kids under the age of 10. You run a
Yeah.
business. You have, you're supporting your husband and his farming job. So what does a typical day look like for you?
You know, right now it looks different than it did, 5 years ago and even like 10 years when I started, just because I do have 4 kids. Um, my biggest chunk of work time is definitely during nap time, or in the morning. I've noticed throughout, I'm sure you guys can relate that as you're working, you kind of find your best times to work. For me, I've noticed that by the time the evening hits, I'm like drained and I don't want to be on a computer. I don't want to do like I want to read my book and be in bed as soon as my kids are in bed, whether I'm watching, some documentary with my husband or reading a book. But so I usually try and do my bulk of my work in the morning, but really during nap time is like my go time to squeeze in, messages to customers or whatever I'm doing in my Facebook group. That's my best time. So usually the morning up until mid afternoon. Otherwise, I just kind of like check out. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
it looks like.
Like after 7 o'clock, like my brain is fried. I'm done. I just want to
Yeah.
relax.
Yes, and like I don't like I've we've done the Facebook party, era where you did parties, 9 p.m., 8 p.m. at night, and those were great. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do those anymore, but I'm definitely welcome to like I always tell my hostesses like whenever time you want to party during the day when your kids are napping, that's great because my kids are napping too, and I'm sure several of the other friends are in the same boat when they can actually focus during that time versus when all the kids are home at p.m. and
Mhm.
anyway, trying to focus on all the fires in the house. So that's what I kind of have learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Now I know that you mentioned that your business has changed over the years, and I
Hmm.
know that everybody's has changed. Like things have
Hmm.
just changed whether you have kids or not. But I'm
Yeah,
curious to know what are some of your like non-negotiables? Like what are the key things that you do in your business on a daily basis that you need to do to keep it running?
that's that's always a good question. I always go back to the basics. And you guys know I'm a Becky Launder junkie. I've been a fan of hers for years and years and years. And so the ABCs, when I am like in the zone, summertime is hard because I feel like, I don't know, I'm on a break, everyone's on a break, but I always try and like, go through my messages, um, check my VIP group to make sure there's nothing going on in there. And then my Oh My High website and yeah, just check making sure everything's going through there. So definitely the ABCs, like contacting your customers and making sure you're having content out there and just trying to, I think just working on the relationships with your customers that are your messaging and trying to get the products into their hands and trying to be very aware of what they need and just what they need and what I can help them with as their children are growing too, what products they don't know about as they're getting older, and different things like that. So I think just being consistent and showing up, whether that is, messaging one person, if I can get into somebody's inbox just, one time, that makes a huge difference, I think, in the long run and building that relationship with all the customers.
And do you
So
rely on that one-to-one conversation or do you have like other systems in place like email marketing, automations?
I rely on project broadcast when I send out messages and then email marketing hugely. So I just had a $5 book sale in my VIP group, and our website just had one of our, I don't even have it in here. The advent calendars were on sale for $5, and another beloved book was on sale for $2. And so I sent out a project broadcast to my customers to invite into my party to get them into that. But then I also sent out an email too. And I think between the both of them, I had sales coming in and I had people asking questions. I had people coming to the party. And so I do rely a lot on project broadcast. I know I can send out a big message to a lot of people, but then I refer back to the one-on-one communications with them and asking them, if they had any questions, if they need any help. And then when they respond to me, I'm happy to help them with recommendations and, um, just kind of build a relationship. I like building one-on-one relationships. I am not a person who, if I'm at a party, I'll be the one in the corner just watching people. And I get really overwhelmed, and I, I don't like to make not a big scene, but I don't like a lot of attention unless I'm talking to somebody that I know really well, and then I can open up to them. And I'm the same way in my business. Like I don't like I love Facebook, and well, that's not actually true. I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but I love the convenience of it, or I can post in my VIP group, but it's where I can message those customers like, hey, did you see this book that's on sale? Like I thought of you, and I thought you kids would love it because I know you love this other product. And I think that's where the magic happens, is being able to talk to your customers, know what they want and need.
So I'm going to have you go back a little bit. We are all Betty
Okay.
Lauder. We have so many Modern Direct Seller Academy guests on here. But for those listening who don't know what ABC stand for, can you walk?
Gosh, you had asked me that, huh?
I know.
This is the true test. So A is active selling. So if you're selling something actively, whether it's like asking for a sale or following up with your customers, actively selling. B, gosh, what was B?
Is it building?
Yes, building relationships. I was like, gosh, what is B? I know I do it, but I don't remember what it stands for. So B, I feel like B and A can kind of go together, because if you reach out to customers, you're also helping to build that relationship with your customers and your people in your area, or in your group. And then C is the content creation. And so that's where you're creating, whether it's the reels, stories, or the post, email marketing, texting, and that's where that comes into play. And I use StintShare for that. I love StintShare. They make it super easy to share stuff in all the places wherever you're at, and to like recycle and repurpose content as well. So that's what I do for that.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so sometimes in our lives we need to like go on maintenance mode. And you had mentioned this when we were kind of talking before the podcast, like sometimes my life is so busy, I just have to be in maintenance mode. So what does that look like for you? What systems are already in place that you can take time away from your business actively, but the business is still running for you?
So 100% honest, I am probably right now in maintenance mode, and I probably have been. I was trying to think about this as preparing for this interview. I've probably been in maintenance mode since my 4th child was born back in 2023, which sounds like a long time. But I have to remind myself that, our former CEO, Randall White, he would say this constantly at like conventions and different gatherings, that we don't do this business to our family, we do it for our family. And so I had gotten to the point where I was just getting too stressed and too worried about the big goal. And I would get really like, not necessarily depressed, but just kind of down if I didn't hit the big goal. And so when I was pregnant with my 4th, I just kind of had to take a step back and be like, it's okay to not hit all the things. It's okay to not have, like the business as it was, before I had kids. And so maintenance mode to me is just sustaining what I have. And that's what I have been able to do the past couple of years, is sustaining my leadership title and my customers, and still serving them in a way that works for me and it works for them. And so the things I have in process, kind of what I already talked about, was project broadcast, leaning on that to help me send out messages to save time. My VIP group is going, and I still have people in there. And I have like my loyalist customers that know and love me, that they kind of know where I'm at, because most of them know who I am, and they've seen my family grow along with my business as it's changed too. And then like the email marketing with Oh My Hi and my website kind of go hand in hand. And so that's played a big part in just kind of keeping things just sustainable as I have continued to grow. So, and I don't know what will happen in the future. Nobody does, but I would like to, I don't have any idea, not an idea. I don't have any plans to quit, because I think we all kind of go through that moment in time where you're like, I'm not working a ton, I'm not doing as much as I was, like, should I just stop? But I haven't had that feeling I know that sounds cheesy, but like that feeling to be like, it's time to move on. Because I still love the products, and I still firmly believe in our mission that literacy matters. And it is such a huge thing in this day and age that we need to talk about, and we need to have these books accessible to everybody around the country. And so I don't see myself quitting anytime soon. That's why I know it's okay to be coasting, because I could be here for another 10 years, and that's a long time. And by that point, my kids will be hopefully long gone, most of them. And, it'll look different. No, long, probably not the 2-year-old. He'll only be 12, but it'll just be different dynamics. I'll be able to work, shove and work. Yeah. I'll be working in the van versus working during nap time, right? So anyway, it just changes. But yeah, that's what my hope is to keep working. So
And I love everything that you said, but I know that there's a lot of direct sellers out there who struggle with that, being okay to be in maintenance mode, let's say, right? Not doing what you think you should be doing. What helped you get there? What helped you come to terms with that's okay with that?
that's a really good question. So we have at the Aspen world, in Paper Pie world, we have some of our monthly awards that we give out. Like if you hit a monthly perk for like being a consultant. So if you have like X amount of sales and then you have like a recruit, then if you get it for not every day, every month in a year, you get an award at the convention. And I had hit that award for 3 years in a row. And so those carrots that they dangle, they're really hard to not want to get them. And all the free products, all the swag. Like I have so many things in my house that are branded Paper Pie, Usborne Books and More, which I love and I think it's great. But I had to really evaluate like what it was doing to my mental capacity and what it was doing to my business. Because I found that as I was trying to just hit the mark and just trying to get the sales and just trying to recruit the person, my heart wasn't in it as much because I was just trying to like just get there. And so I had to really think about like what did I want my business to look like? Like as much fun as the awards are and walking across the stage, I mean, those moments are amazing. And I have a lot of those moments from earning the trips and walking across the stage and different things. But I also felt like my heart just wasn't in it and I wasn't loving it as much because it just became like a thing to just do. And so once you miss the 1 month in Paper Pie World, like you can't get the award because you have to hit it for all 12. And so the first time I didn't hit it, it was kind of like I could take a breath because I didn't feel all that pressure that no one else was putting on me. Like my leaders weren't like hounding me to be like, oh, you have to get it. You have to get it. It was just pressure on myself. And so once I took that moment to kind of step back and be like, it's okay to not get it. And I've had to remind myself and remind other friends that are in the same business and other businesses that you don't have to be top of the company to make a difference. You don't have to be earning all the awards and to making all the money to make a difference. Whether, you're selling Scentsy or, face products, there's so many other things you can do without being at the top of the company, if that makes sense. And so I just had to kind of refresh my mind and be like, go back to the basics. Like, what was my why? Why did I want to do this? And it kind of came back to, I didn't have the capacity and the time with being, pregnant with number 4 with, to put into having so many parties a month. And I just kind of felt myself stretching too thin and like I was getting cranky with my kids and just, not spending as much time with them. And I just had to find out my why. And I think our why's changed too. I'm sure you guys agree. Like why I started 10 years ago is different. Why I keep going. And reevaluating my why helped me understand that it's okay to not be in go, 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 go mode at this time that I'm in right now. And I have felt peace with that. And like I said, it's probably been about 2 years since I have been at peace and been in maintenance mode. But I'm also kind of like, my kids are little and my business is still going and I still love it and I still get excited about things. And so I feel good about it. And I think that's a big thing. Like if I'm feeling okay with where I'm at, then that's okay with me. So I don't know if that helps anybody else, but I think just taking a minute to just let's see why you're doing it. If you're doing it for all the accolades and all the stuff, that may not be your true why, because as awesome as those are, they're not going to fill your bucket at the end of the day. And it has to be like, well, the people that you touch and the people that matter in your life, whether they're customers or your family, who you can help just doing, little things that are what you can do at the time of the day.
I think that's really good advice. I was just listening to a podcast with Bob Heilig. Is that his name? I always say his name wrong. And he was talking, I mean, exactly what you said was what he was talking about. When you are so focused on reaching the goal and getting the carrot, it takes the joy out of your business. And then at some point, you're measuring your worth by the times you walk across stage and the awards you get. And that's not what our business is about. So when you remember your why, like you said, when you remember your customer relationships and you're serving and helping literacy and customers and kids love books, like then you get that joy back. So
Mhm.
exactly what you just said is so funny. I was just listening to that on my walk yesterday. Yeah, I
That's
agree.
good timing.
I mean,
Went off on a little tangent.
we do these things, Jenna. It's okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Back
you guys are
to the news.
awesome.
So I love everything that you just said because I think it's going to hit home for so many people. I am such, and I mean, I think that's where this whole podcast came from. The other 99%, the fact that, you're here telling the awesomeness that you're doing in your business and you're not like, you're not at that 1% on the stage all the time and you're
Mhm.
okay with that. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, what a lot of us need to realize that it's okay to be, in that place. So I really appreciate you sharing that. But now I just want to dig in a little bit because I know that I get the pleasure to work with you offline and
Behind the scenes.
sort of behind the scenes. And you've been working with Becky Launder, the modern direct seller, for a while now. So can you give like a little bit of a look at that side of your business and sort of how that has maybe helped you grow in your direct sales journey by being a part of that community?
Yeah. So I love Becky Launder. I've been a huge groupie of hers before I started working for her when she just had, I think it was my consultant training before it was Modern Direct Seller. And so when she approached me to work for her, I was like, absolutely. Because I was already like in all the things that she was offering. I was like, just give me more, Becky. Anything you give me, I will say yes to. Um, I love the Academy. I love Modern Direct Seller. I love all her courses. It has helped me. She was a big reason of why I think I took a step back and like noticed how do I word it? Like the carrots that the companies dangle, that it's okay to not go for them because she's kind of like they dangle those for a reason, and like that's fine, but like you don't have to go for them. And so she was a huge, I think, one of the other reasons why I kind of was like, you know what, she's 100% right. Like I can still work my business in different ways without being at the top. Um, I love the Academy because I feel like being with like-minded women or men, we have a few men, um, business like-minded people is something so powerful. Whether you're in the same company or not, like you don't have to be in the same company to think the same stuff, or you don't have to be in the same company to have the same problems with, Facebook or, online partying, or, trying to connect with customers. That's kind of like a all across the board in, I think, business relationships, whether you're, direct selling or in a customer-based business. And so I think it's just very powerful to know you're not alone in the issues that you're having. And I always love the brainstorming and like the ideas I've gotten from like the meetings that we go to, the Zoom calls and meeting with other women. I think it's just so amazing just to feel like, oh, okay, I can do this. And like I always come away from her retreats and like her workshops being like having like a goal in place, whether it's a big goal or, just like a small goal, just get me through to like the next quarter. Um, I just have loved that it kind of helped me kind of focus in my stuff, my business. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Yeah. Yeah, it does for sure.
So then tell us a little bit about your team. Do you have a big team? Do you have a small team? Like how do you lead your team and how do you deal with them when they need to go in maintenance mode too? If they're going through some kind of change in their life or change in careers, how do you
hmm
lead them?
so my teams have changed. So I have had big teams throughout the years and I have had, not so big teams. Right now I'm kind of like a smaller team area, which, excuse me, I think that's no fault to my own. I think a lot of times teams reflect leadership. And if your leadership is growing and like go, 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 your team kind of follows suit. And so where I'm on maintenance mode, I think I'm not surprised when I have team members who are I can't get a sale. And I'm like, I know, like it's really hard. Like and we just had a change in one of our things for paper pie. And so we are encouraged to reach out to all of our team members to be like, hey, we just had this change in our policy. This is what we're doing. And I had somebody be like, I haven't had a party like all month. And I'm like, hey, that's okay. Like I haven't either. And so I have no problem being very open and honest and being like, I know that's okay. Like I'm in that same boat. Like I don't have parties all the time either. Like I try and have different customer relations, like my own parties like quarterly for my PIP group and stuff, but those don't happen all the time or every week. And so I have I'm honest all the time, and I have no problem being like, I know, like, it's really hard right now. Like, sometimes it's hard to get on parties. Like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And so I'm just very honest. And then when they are saying, what they want to do, I'm always happy to coach them and to help them to navigate what it is they're trying to do, whether they want to promote up to leadership or they just want to keep going what they're doing. But I just am very honest, being like, yeah, it is hard. Like I'm in that same boat. 'Cause, I have 4 kids, they have kids, and I feel it. But I try to let them know that it's still possible to work your business as long as you try and work it somehow. Like you can fit in what you want to fit in, is what I always think. So,
That
but
probably
yeah,
gives them some freedom too. Like, okay, I don't
yeah.
have to put so much pressure on myself.
Maybe that's not good for me, but I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, this business is supposed to be fun. And I think when people get too serious about it, it's not fun anymore. And that's when people like, they don't want to stay.
Yeah, I think that's great.
All right. I want to take you back to where you mentioned about Project Broadcast and your systems. And
Hmm.
you know that I'm a systems girl and I love
Hmm.
all things, having things in place. Can you give us a little bit of a deeper dive into what you use your Project Broadcast for? Like, I know Susan has an amazing customer care system. Do you use it for like customer care, maybe campaigns, or do you just send one-off messages? How do you use it?
Yeah. All the above. I mean, I would like to say I'm as good as Susan. I'm not in my customer care follow. I mean,
I don't
so
think
I'm like,
any
you
of us
always have
are.
all these ideas. So I really use it for like when we have a sale. So like I had a big event, like I said, my $5 party. So I sent out a broadcast to everybody. And usually our company is really good about giving us like a reason to ring to our customers, whether it's a new special that's going on every month or it's a new product that we have coming out. And so I use it kind of more of like an announcement thing, like a one-off message, maybe each month. And then I usually use it for my customer follow up, like one-on-one basis. So when I go to reach out to a customer, I go to Project Broadcast. Like I make sure I have their information in there first. And then if I'm at events, like I have an event next week in a small town, and then I have my big state fair at the end of August. And what I'll do is I'll have like the QR code that you scan and it gets them into my Project Broadcast, and then they're in my system, and so they can stay in there for like all my local information. And I use it as my customer foundation. Like that's where I go to contact customers. I don't like Facebook and I don't like trying to find their profile. Like I don't want to have to be friends with everybody if they don't want to be my friend. Like I'm a very, private-ish person. I go to Project Broadcast for all my customer contacts. So that's what I use it for. Yeah. So I use it for like the announcements that we have going on, sales that we have going on, and customer follow-up.
Yeah, and I think
We
Project
love.
Broadcast is a great system because you can keep everything there. You could keep notes.
Yeah.
You can keep
Yeah, it's
track.
so nice.
Yeah.
And you can tag them for all my local people that I've done like for sales and the events and stuff. I really like it. And I know there's been a lot of chatter about it, but I don't pay attention to the chatter because I've with my kids all the time. But it's worth it to me, my business, to keep it because I can't afford time to spend, texting people one on one. I mean, I have a lot of contacts in there and to text all them would take like forever. And so
Yeah.
it's just convenience for me at this point in my time in my life. It's a convenience for sure.
Yeah.
Broadcast.
And I love the
Yeah.
fact that I use them for a separate phone number. I
Yeah.
don't have to
Yes.
give people my personal phone number and getting weird texts at all hours. Like, I could turn the Project
Well,
Broadcast notifications off.
when I first started, we moved here in Preston 2 years ago. So my time working, I lived in a small rural area where I had no cell phone service. And so I couldn't even like give my phone number because I would never get messages. And so the first time I did, I think I started with like a Google number, which was nice, but you can't do near as much as you can with Project Broadcast. And so when I got to the capacity where I was like, this is just too hard. Like it was just so much easier to switch to Project Broadcast just for the bulk and the time save. It was just so convenient and I'll never go back.
And same thing with me for moving. So I moved from Ohio, area code
Hmm.
513, to New Jersey 609, and I was
Hmm.
able to get a New Jersey number because
Oh,
when
really?
people get it, or yeah, because I started again with Project Broadcast 3 years ago when we moved here. So I'm like, well, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
get a New Jersey number because if people see a text from 513 or get like a phone
They're
call
not
from
going to
it,
respond.
yeah, Yeah, I don't know who this is. This is some foreign, it's spam or whatever. So I love that I have a phone number in my area code because there's no way I'm changing my home phone number. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everywhere. I'd have to change all my
Yeah.
contacts. So I love having a separate business line. Love Project Broadcast.
I can take it everywhere with me. I can do it on my phone. I can do it on my computer. That makes it way
Yeah.
easier.
Yep. Okay, so we talked about earlier, when your little one is 12, like where do you see your business? I know, isn't that crazy?
That's so crazy. I know. I
Going
don't know if you said it. I'm
like
like, oh gosh, it's a
12,
little earth shattering to think about it out loud.
I know, 12 to like 20, right? In 2
Yeah.
years.
Ugh.
So how you said you're going to have more freedom because your kids will be more independent. Like, do you see yourself focusing on growing your business and doing it full
Mhm.
time? Or where do you see your business in 10 years?
I would love, I mean, I know what I would love to do more of. And right now I feel like I can't do it right now. We have a real niche for, like we talked about earlier, like our preschool age kids is like really where our sweet spot is, in my personal belief, like the 3 to 5. I would love to do way more preschool book fairs, but that would mean for me to, like, pack up my car and like be gone for an entire day, or, a couple days in a row. And I know if there's consultants out there who do it with young kids, but I'm just like, that just sounds really hard. And for me personally, I have to just be okay with that, being like, okay, I know, she can do it down there and she does it well, but to me, that just stresses me out trying to think about, whether I have to find childcare, or, ask my husband to take off work, or, whatever it is. But I know that once they're all in school, like whether it's, a couple hours a day, and once my youngest is in preschool or even in kindergarten here, I want to try and get more preschool book fairs because I think that's such a sweet spot for our business. And then I will also like to do more home parties because I think those are also like the forgotten sweet spot in like direct sales across the board. I would love to grow more. And I think once I have, I know time is such a finite thing because we all have the same amount of time. And I know you said, like, even when my kids are going to be older, it's still going to be busy. Like, I know it'll just be a different kind of busy.
Yeah.
And they'll be the biggest thing, I think, they'll just be more independent, and that, I won't have a child needing to change their diaper every, couple hours, or, whatever it is. I hope not, at least, but it'll just be different busy. And I think once you can adjust those different busies, it just makes it a little bit easier. But I do want to grow. Like I said, I don't foresee me quitting. Like my leadership, my director, senior director, she's been in the business for like over 25 years. And I'm kind of like, that's so cool. I love knowing that she's been in it for so long, and I think she has 5 kids, and her kids are all like grown and married now. But she's like, I've been there. Like when I started, I only had 3, and like, and so I'm kind of like, I think it'd be so cool to stick around and just see what happens in the business, whether I'm, going full power, like going back to go, go, go mode and earning all the trips and all the things. That sounds amazing. I don't know if I would love for it to happen. And I know what it needs to happen. Like I know what it would take for me for it to happen. And so I'm definitely like, yeah, I think it could happen. Like once I think past like the baby stage is probably the hardest. And then we can see what goes on in there. But I definitely see me still with the business, doing more preschool book fairs. I would love to get into more school and libraries around my area because we have like a whole separate division for school and libraries. And then just kind of getting to know customers around like the native area here in my home in Preston area, to do like parties and just different gatherings around there. So maybe a little bit less online as I'm, talking out loud. It seems like less online and more in person.
Yeah. We were just talking about that before we started. And at conference, we had a workshop, and it was in person workshops
Mm-hmm.
or parties. And the one girl who was sharing reminded me she still does parties the way I did them 11 years ago when I started. And everybody loves it. And she's having like $1,000, $2,000 home parties. And
That's
I feel
awesome.
like, why did we get away from that? Or maybe it's swinging back
I know.
that.
Yeah.
So definitely something to think about.
And I know they
I love
have
it.
I mean, I think the online parties and home parties, they both have their challenges and, their sweet spots. But I think it's just on what you're liking. And I don't know. I think home parties are a lot of fun. I've done a handful of them in like my 10 years, which is not very many from what it used to be before, online parties were a big thing, but they're a lot of fun. And I think if you have the time to dedicate to doing home parties versus, being online, they could be amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the fun thing to think about, is what it could be.
Okay, now this kind of surprises me because earlier you said if there's a whole party, like I'm the one in the corner watching, but now party consultant.
That making no sense at all. You're right. This is what I'm just crazy. No. So that's true. I think it goes, okay, let me differentiate. So if I'm invited to a party with a bunch of people that I don't know very well, and like I'm not the hostess, I will sit to the side. If I'm hosting a book party with like my friend who invited me to do this, I'll be like, here's all the books. I mean, I get my suitcase full of books and I wheel them out. I'm like, okay, so what age are your kids? Like, this is the perfect age. You know, this is my 7-year-old loves. This is what he loves. But I guess it is different. But I can just turn it on when I need to. I guess is what I should say. I can turn it on and off when I want to.
And you're passionate about the products. You know the products.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
everyone to have these books in their home because you
Yes.
know how important they are. So I'm just teasing
Absolutely. No, I know, but it's a very good point. I'm like, I'm a little psycho sometimes. That's why.
No, I'm sitting here giggling because I'm the exact same way. It's like, but I'm weird. Like when I was doing home parties, especially when I started with Mary Kay, I honestly would excel at parties that were for people I didn't know because they
Yeah.
didn't know who Lisa was.
Who you
So
were. Yeah.
I could go up there and I could put on a little bit of an act and they're not looking at me like that's not the real Lisa. Like it's like I had more freedom to be who I thought
Yeah.
they needed me to be than who I actually felt like I was,
I
right?
was.
So totally.
And it's always easier to talk about the products because you know and love them versus talking about yourself to a bunch of people, you know? So I mean, I could talk about our books all day, all of our favorites, all day, any day.
Wow. All right. So I'm going to ask you my favorite question, and that is, do you have a quote or a piece of advice that you think that every direct seller should hear?
I've been thinking about this ever since Susan had told me. And so I've gone back and forth. So like the two things that keep coming to mind, and I'm going to share two, was one thing that let's try to think what to share first. My leader has she always goes off of like an example is like swinging the merry-go-round. And in our business, you know, when you're you're pushing the merry-go-round and it's going really fast, to keep pushing into it's easier to keep up the momentum when you're pushing it where it's just like a little push and to just keep it going versus having it completely stand still and stopping and then trying to go again. And so I always remember that because she says it multiple times. But so in my mind, for my business, it's easier for me to keep whether I'm like doing the ABCs, you know, touching my customer bases and, you know, having things scheduled for myself in the future versus completely shutting down and like not talking to anybody, not messaging anyone, not upkeeping my website, and then trying to start from scratch. It's so much harder. And so I have always thought that it's easier just to kind of keep doing like the little things to keep pushing it, whether it's just like, you know, a little love tap here versus when I'm ready to go, you know, in the next year or two to do big pushes, it's already going a little bit, if that makes any sense. So I always try and keep my business going a little bit on the merry-go-round just so it can keep working for me as well. The second thing has always been in my mind ever since I started my business. So after like 9 months when I joined, it was less than that. It was way less than that. It was like 4. So I was like trying to think of the time. I joined October and it was like probably February or March-ish, like the following year. And I kind of got to this point where I felt like I didn't have any more bookings. I felt like I didn't have any more parties. And I was kind of like, well, this is it. Like I did a good run and like now I'm done. And I sent out a few more messages and I got a few more bookings and obviously I didn't quit because I'm still here. But in the back of my mind, I just thought like if I had like 10 parties on my calendar and all these things happening, like 5 people on my team, would I quit versus where it's slow and it's hard, do I quit now? And I've always you know, taught my kids and myself, like you can't quit when it's hard because it is hard and it is challenging. But when you quit then, like you don't get to see the high and the good. And so I always remind myself, like if I want to quit, I have to quit when it's good. So then I know what I'm quitting for. Because I think it's so whether you're, you know, direct selling or whatever business or hobby or, you know, whatever you're trying to learn, when it gets hard, it is hard. And if you quit when it's hard, then you don't learn anything. And so I always told myself, like, I can't quit when I'm struggling because that's, I don't know, that just feels too easy. And it just feels like you don't learn anything. And so I have to quit on a high, whether that's, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's what I tell myself. Like, don't quit when it's hard because you want to learn from it and grow. And then you usually don't quit because you keep going. And that's what's awesome about it.
Yeah.
Kind of a mind
That's a
trick
really
there, but
I love that.
yeah.
Quit while you're ahead. Is that
Yeah.
what they
Or at least like
yeah.
when you're good and like you're at peace with what you're doing, then it just feels better than to quit when it's hard and like you gave up. But
Yeah.
that's what kept coming to mind. So that's my piece of advice.
I love that because I've always had that thought in my head. It's like you can't quit on an
Mhm.
empty calendar
Yeah.
because exactly what you said. It's like it's easy at that point, right? It's like it's too
Yeah.
hard to get any bookings, but and your thought process is exactly what people need to do. Is like if I had 10 bookings, knowing that income was going to come in, would I walk
Yeah.
away
Would you
right now?
quit? Absolutely not. Yeah. And like even if you just have one, that even changes the scope of things. So like just getting one person, or what one sale or that one customer, then you go back to the basics of like, okay, what can I do to get where I want to be?
Yeah. And I remember always asking my team, if I could wave a magic wand and give you as many bookings as you would like, how many would you want, right? And
Oh, that's a good
many of them
question.
would come back and say, "Oh, I'll take 5 or I'll take 10, I'll take 2." And it's like, "Okay, well then, you know, you're sitting here telling me that you're struggling, but this is what you want. Let's help you get there
Yeah.
so that you don't feel like this is a failure and you need to walk away because obviously you're willing to put more work into the business. You're just struggling getting that momentum
Hmm.
going. Like you said, that big push is too hard, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that I always reflect on. It's like, yeah, how many would you want? Like, if I could just like wave that wand and fill your calendar up, what would you do, right? So,
That's a good question too, because I think like in maintenance mode, I'm like, how many would I want? Right now, one. But when I'm not in maintenance mode, when I'm in go mode, it's higher than that. And I think knowing the difference too, like the different season that you're in and being okay with that too, kind of go back to like what I've been saying. But I like that question. Like, at what point will I personally want to have more? And I think that's something I'll probably keep asking myself throughout the next little bit as my kids are getting older. And so I like that perspective too. So thanks for that tip.
no problem.
That's what I love about direct sales. I mean, you can put your heart and soul into it 8 hours a day, 3 hours a week, or you can work it like 2 hours a week. I mean, it is
Mm-hmm.
there for you when you need it. What other job can we do
I
that? No
know.
9 to 5, no healthcare, no corporate America. I mean,
Yeah.
we have such a unique job, and it's a shame that more people don't recognize it for what it is.
So sad because I'm like, I see the haters, across the board, whether my, friends or whatever, but I'm like, you do you. I'm like not going to try and swindle you into anything like you don't want to do, but I'm like, it's working for me. And I know several other women, in my company, in other companies that it's working for. And
Yeah.
I'm like, if you don't want to try it, that's fine. But I know it's been amazing for my family, for me personally, and for all my kids. And, my husband has loved all the trips that he's earned. I've earned that I've taken it. I will say it's no longer a scam because he saw we went on the trips and he loved it. So he came around after a couple years.
All right. Well, before we go, can you just tell people where they can find Jenna?
Sure. So you can find me on my website. It's jennasbookadventures.com. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. You can join my VIP group there, but you can find me on my website and message me through there too.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Jenna. Well, I so appreciate you joining us. I mean, I know that you were super nervous when we started, but we appreciate you joining us. And I know that everybody has taken some tidbits away from what you shared. And we look forward to having everyone join us next week on another episode of The Other 99%. Take care, everyone. Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Other 99%. We just want to say thank you. It truly means the world to us that you're here. Lisa and I absolutely love creating these episodes for you, and we're so grateful to have you in our community. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to like, share with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. We drop fresh content every Tuesday. Got thoughts, questions, or ideas? Leave us a comment. Want to be a guest on the show? We would love to chat with you. Apply by clicking the link in the show notes. Thanks again for spending time with us today, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Other 99%.